and scores!
Great move by Davies. Well, this would be something. Oh! Ausgezeichnet!
Brian White chips, it'll make it!
Welcome back to another episode of Caps Cast presented by Whitecaps Fan TV. And I think this has now become a Leagues Cup edition of Caps Cast. And as always, joined by my co-host Damien.
Hey everyone, how y'all doing?
We are back in Leagues Cup action, which a lot of controversy over it. But yeah, so we had the pleasure of hosting Club Tijuana for a very, very, very interesting game.
Yeah, I mean, like, great result at the end of the game, but talk about a game of two halves. Like, the first half compared to the second, it was almost as if we had two different teams on the pitch. It was, like, night and day.
Night and day, yeah. So let's dive into it here. So we had a kickoff between the two teams. First time meeting Club Tijuana in any competition. And we'll preface this too that our Caps have never done well against Mexican opposition.
Nope.
Never before this game had never recorded a win in regulation. So within the 90 minutes. But so let's kick it off here. Like you said, tale of two halves. Let's dive into this.
Yeah, so obviously the first half starts there. We I'll be honest, right from kickoff, we almost looked a bit shaky all over the pitch. There was no real cohesion amongst the players. And then to really stick it to us, they scored within 8 minutes.
Yeah, quick.
Which, and from the goal there, the Whitecaps didn't really respond. We were slow to the ball. In fact, I honestly feel we went into the half there 1-0 down. And I think we were very fortunate to actually go into the half 1-0 down. I think Tak made a few good saves. And had Bulmer have been on the pitch, maybe would have been down 2-3-0 going into the half.
So I was gonna say, I've read some social media posts saying like, "Oh, do we give Bulmer a run of games in this Leagues Cup?" But I think after that first half, I would totally disagree. Like, we needed Takeoka out there. He, like you said, he bailed us out probably one to two times, maybe even three.
Oh, more. I think it was like 3 times in the first half alone.
He
came to the rescue though. I do think he's like up there with maybe in the top 5 keepers in the league.
I'd say so too. I'd say like we've built like a pretty solid defensive standpoint here. And also maybe the disorganization, like Vanny's on a red card. Obviously he got shown red in the last game. So could that, disorganization never really helps when your manager's not there.
I suppose going on that as well, Matt, like you've lost your captain in gold. Your vice captain is Veselinovic, who wasn't on the pitch. So then you've got White as a captain. From what I've seen in the games, being at the stadium as well, White is never one of the most vocal on the pitch. He likes to get his work done, but he's not the one necessarily shouting orders. He's always got a smile on his face. He looks like a nice guy that doesn't really want to get in his own players' faces and
cause rifts.
Yeah. You need somebody that actually is willing to do the shitty work of putting people in the place when needed. And I think White is a nice guy. You might not want to do that.
I was gonna say like nobody else on the the group of captains was really on the field, right? Like I think Cubas is named to that as well. So it was kind of interesting that White took the armband.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I guess obviously it wasn't Vanny on the touchline. Obviously he was suspended. But going in at halftime, a goal down, they made the two substitutions with Vite coming on for Shot
Priso.
and Levante Johnson, for Priso.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, I think Priso had a very, very quiet game in the middle of the park. I didn't see him much in the mid. Like, I really didn't see him at all. And Shot, same sort of thing. I think the game sort of passed him by a little bit.
Yeah,
But-
so let's break down this lineup here because it is quite interesting what I mean probably ultimately Vanny decided. Like I can't see him
Yeah.
not setting out the tactics and everything out. So we had a front three of Raposo, White, and Fafa, which having Raposo as like that front left winger is very, very interesting. And then the midfield is Shop, Cubas, Priso, Berhalter, with a backline of Utvik, Halbuni, and Laborda. So we go for our standard 3-4-3.
Yeah.
And it like I'm gonna eat my own words here too. Is like I finally feel like we've sorted out that right hand side with Berhalter. It seems like he can play wide, he can cut in, he's having link up, he's now crossing the ball, making opportunities for strikers to get on the end of it.
Yeah, I'd have to
So-
agree with that. I think he's slowly becoming one of the first names on that sheet every game.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he's brilliant.
And then Raposo gets moved to the left as like a left winger almost, which I don't know, maybe that could have been the reason we looked so out of it, along with like I feel like you said, like Priso didn't really contribute and Schaff.
Well, even with that, Matt, we were at the game there, and after half time, when they made the substitutions, I turned around to you and I went, "Oh, look, Raposo's on the pitch." Like, Raposo's come on, and you were like, "No, Raposo's been on since the start." That is another player on the day that did absolutely nothing in that first half, like zero contribution. It was brutal. There were so many of them on the pitch that were guilty of that. It's honestly, it'd be easier to single out the people that actually put a bit of effort in that
Yeah.
first half. Like,
So,
it's the
Let's
whole
do
team.
it. Single
crap.
them out.
Single mate for me in that first half. My players that were okay, I'd say Takaoka.
Yeah.
Maybe Cubas. He was the only person in the midfield doing anything of any sort, trying to win the ball back. It's just getting played around though, like exerting a lot of energy, but not being able to achieve much. And maybe Upvik. He was
I was
doing
gonna
his
say-
best. And
Yeah.
another back three that has been changed again.
It's
he
so
never plays
tough.
against the same player with consistently with the same two players next to him.
It's so tough when they're constantly changing this back line, like constantly rotating players in and out. It's like, how do you build that relationship and trust and almost like that sense of like, okay, when I have the ball, I know, like say Laborda is going to be, off to my right hand side. Like you don't,
Yeah.
like it's tough, right? I mean, we've seen it with like, I mean, I don't like to draw parallelisms to like that, like the Premier League, but we've seen it with like, I mean, Man United last season. Like it's the same song and dance. When that back line keeps changing, it's so hard
Yeah.
to build the trust. And then like also Takaoka has to step up and make saves because, maybe Utvik doesn't think that Halbuni is going to cover because he's used to Veselinovic being there. Like it's hard to mimic all of that in training. And I think that first goal was like a direct result of it. It's just so out of sorts.
Yeah.
But,
I
like,
agree.
And like this is so interesting is I mean, even we're in a situation where the only result we can have or the only result we can't have is losing. And straight away 8 minutes in we're losing. And I remember at like the 30th minute you looked over and you're like, well fuck, I think we're going out here. Because it essentially was a tale of two halves.
Yeah, like, at 30 minutes in there, we were fortunate not to be 2-0 down already. Man, immediately after the goal that they score, they go straight down the other side and have, they could have scored again right away. We were very lucky that we didn't go 2-0 down within 15 minutes. The performance in that first half was dire.
It was bad.
Having said that, the second half, God knows what was said to them, whether or not they snuck Vanny in a fucking hamper into the changing room or something, just so we could bollock them. But somebody said something to them that really lit a fire under their asses for the second half there, because they were exceptional in that second half.
The old Mourinho special.
Yeah.
Okay, and I want to say this too, is I feel every time we've gone down early, I mean, I shouldn't even have to say this, that we're going down early in the first half, but it's not like the team's body language has dropped. Like, there's not this lack of, okay, maybe in the first half there was a lack of performance, but you know what I mean? In that second half, everyone sprinted onto the field, they got into that huddle, and it was like, okay, something's going on here, right? They make 2 subs, like you said, Levante Johnson and Vite, your 2 favorite players.
I honestly think, I don't even know what to start with Levante Johnson. He is the most frustrating player that I have ever watched and supported in my entire life. That's the best way I can describe him. He, in one game there, he assisted a goal and scored a goal, and yet there was moments in the game where I'd have happily gone to his house, packed his bags, and sent him back to the Whitecaps too. Because I just don't get it. I don't get how you can be so hot and cold in the same game. There was a moment there when he was running down the middle of the pitch. He had, I think it was maybe Raposo in so much space on the left-hand side of him. All it would have took is a simple ball through. You, me, anybody could have played that ball, I feel.
I don't know.
And he played it straight to the defender's feet, and I was like, what is going on? But then, assisted Fafa, got a goal himself, so...
Okay, so Fafa gets a goal in the 49th minute, and we're all just like, okay, well, here we are. We're back, right? Back to even.
Good
and
time
it's almost...
score.
Sorry?
A very good time to score, within the first 5 minutes of, entering the half.
I mean, it's basic. I always say it if we score within 15 minutes, we might be back here, right? That 15 minute, I mean, I shouldn't have to say it this many times. You know, we're 8 episodes into a podcast, and I feel like I'm constantly saying that. So Fafa scores, which was a great goal. He obviously won Player of the Month last month for the Whitecaps, named it super deservingly. And I feel, like I said, for the first couple episodes, we've obviously been critical of it. There's a lot of rumors that, he doesn't want to be here. He wants to go back east. Doesn't like Vancouver. I mean, obviously rumors are always going to be going, but those ones just cut a little bit deeper because it felt like we finally had somebody, and now they're like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah. I do. I remember saying, I think it might have been on episode 4, and I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here, because I said that if a player is unhappy and they want to go, you let them go. But having said that, we are now on the 5th of August. The window slams shut on the 8th. We have not signed anybody. We don't look like we're signing anybody. Under no circumstances, in my opinion, right now, can Fafa be allowed to leave.
No.
He is too instrumental to the club. We're now at a point where if he wants to leave, they need to be pushing that off until the end of the season and just say, you know what, get us through the season, progress with us, get into the playoffs, and see where we end up, and then we'll let you leave. But under no circumstances do I feel that he should be allowed to leave in the next 3 days unless they bring in an adequate replacement, somebody that is going to come into that team and provide the same amount of goals and everything, because he's got 8 goals and 4 assists in 12 starts for the club.
And maybe that conversation is being had, that hey, we know you want to go, give us the MLS season's not much longer, right?
No, I don't think
for
so.
4 months. Like, what are you gonna?
Yeah,
So unless Inter Miami are knocking at the door, like, what are you going to achieve with a different club in 4 months? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, it would be pretty, and even going to like somewhere like Inter Miami, like, there's no room for him to play.
No,
So
no.
maybe it was like, I mean, this is all of us just like creating a story, obviously. Maybe it was lack of playing time, lack of whatever, right? Because it did feel like he was more of like a rotational player, that he would come in for Brian White.
Yeah,
There wasn't, and it never felt like, I mean, with Gald in, it never felt like there was room for Fafa, unless just because of how Brian White plays. And I mean, we've said it before that he plays as more as like an out and out striker, like a target man, versus somebody that can, link up plays and kind of look for a winger, or maybe even with like a different striker, like a strike
yeah,
partner. Like, it just doesn't look like he plays like that. So maybe it was like lack of playing time.
yeah.
Um,
Maybe.
who knows, right? But I mean, fuck, he's up and running now. I wouldn't
Yeah,
even say running; he's sprinting. Um,
yeah. And then what? So we go up the goal there. Oh well, we pull it back to 1-1 through Fafa, and then
and then something interesting happens. Something which I fucking am so pissed off that I didn't have a camera on you in that moment. 62nd minute, we have, actually, to be fair, Levante Johnson threw on goal. Basically had anywhere to put it, and decides to put all of his energy into his right foot and absolutely fucking hit the ball. But he doesn't hit it anywhere but straight to the keeper's face.
man, he fucking decapitates the keeper. Like holy shit!
Good. And
Wow.
I think this will go down as one of my favorite moments we've had, like, at a Whitecaps game. There's a couple we've had at Whitecaps games together, but like, you fucking straight away is, that's a fucking dive. Get him off the field. Get him off. That needs to be top of your lungs. That needs to be booked. Get him off. And within like two, like, and he, I mean, that keeper was, I don't know, like, it looked like straight unconscious. There's been no reports that I've seen issued on what happened,
Oh, that he lived.
or yeah, that he is still alive at this. He's still alive, but he fucking smashed it straight at his face, and then straight away the ref calls the play down because everybody starts signaling like for help, and you're sitting there being like, that's a card, get him off, he's diving. And like, the keeper was not moving. And the next thing you know, the old medical cart comes out, and we're like, oh, like, shit.
Man, I'll be honest. I didn't feel remorseful or guilty until they were loading him up on the back of the mini ambulance and wheeling him off the fucking pitch, and then I was like, well, maybe, just maybe, it might have hurt his neck.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, like, because there was no blood, right? Like,
Not on
I
the
mean
outside.
that, but like, there was no. So
Man,
last
I don't care if
time
there was no blood. He was definitely not okay. Like
he
had
was
a
he was
fucking
not
neck
okay.
brace on.
He was not okay. I mean, they load him onto the mini ambulance and take him out, and sure enough, bring on the backup keeper. Like, good God. But so when we had, what was his name? Kudo, right? We signed that Japanese striker years ago, probably like 2018. And same thing happened where he ran full-fledged into the keeper. But what I mean is, like, back then, like, when they held up the towel to like swap it out, like, it was filled with blood.
Oh yeah.
Um
He was like, he was in trouble.
so what I mean is, like, to the Tijuana keeper, like, there was no blood, but like, he was out cold. Um and yeah, that delayed play for about a good 10 minutes, 8 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That was it was a big hit. It was
Big
a
hit.
big hit. Like even when they showed it on the screen, I was kind of like, oh.
It's almost like I
Whiplash.
felt bad that they kept showing it. Like I'd be just beside myself if like that happened to me, and then 20 minutes later they're like, "Oh yeah, they showed it on the jumbotron like 8 different times from 4 different angles." You're like, "Fuck." But yeah, so that happens, and I think maybe that might have helped the Whitecaps. I mean, anytime a backup keeper comes on, you're kind of like, "Woo!"
I think even at that point though, we were very, very dominant in the game.
Yeah.
Like we'd already started turning that key. It looked like we were going to get the second goal anyway. And I don't think it was long because, that was like, I think the incident happened during the 51.
62nd minute.
Started playing again. Oh, the sub was in the 62nd, right?
62nd minute. So, yeah, that must have happened in like the 51st minute.
Yeah, because it was 10 minutes on the floor. So, like, I think we scored pretty soon after that, right?
72nd minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when Levante Johnson scores. And finally starts giving back to us.
I just want to say, like, he scored, and I'm not taking... I am taking things away from it, sorry. But he scored, but, man, it was arguably the worst goal I have ever seen. The worst outside of the box goal I have ever seen. When you think about, like, a strike from outside of the box, you think of, like, Berhalter's against LA, and then this, he sort of miskicks it. It rolls along the floor. I don't even know what... I'd love to get the speed of the ball because I honestly think it was about 8 miles an hour, 8 kilometers an hour, whatever.
It was so slow.
It fucking trickles in. And yeah, maybe it was the fact that they had the substitute goalkeeper in the net, but he didn't even get to it. I don't think anybody on that pitch thought that ball was going in until it fucking hit the back of the net.
Yeah. But we'll take it. We'll take it. Yeah, I don't know what to do with Levante Johnson. It just feels like he needs to go out on loan. Like
I agree with that.
He needs to go out on loan. Like I'm not even Whitecaps too. Like I'd honestly see if someone in the CPL would take him. Like someone like a Pacific or like fuck it if he doesn't want to leave Vancouver, like bring him down to Langley to Vancouver Football Club. Like you know what I mean? Like fuck. I don't know. I don't know what to do with him. But
the decision making, I think, like just he needs to develop that bit of his game a little bit more. He's quick and I think he's got potential to be very, very good.
He just does.
Needs to, develop a little bit more, but not at the Whitecaps' expense.
Yeah, because that's what it's going to boil down to. And at some point, not even at some point, it's happened. The LA game, when he full on just decided, oh yeah, I'll put it short side rather than putting it to 80% of the open net. He was like, oh, I'm going to make a highlight reel.
Yeah.
Then we drop points to LA. And now we're in a a win or go home game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then Vite, your second favorite player.
No, to be fair, I did say last week that Vite played really well. And I give him a lot of credit in the game last week. So I feel like me and Vite are back. Fucking
I was going to say, like, I think he played very, very well. Like, for the 45 minutes that he came on for.
I think he was, I think having him on, and because he sort of slotted in there next to, what do you call it, right? Next to Cubas. Also moved back, and Johnson sort of played in that front three. So I think having a more experienced player like Vite next to Cubas, it just allowed Vancouver to actually take control of the game, which, we didn't have any in the first half. What's interesting as well, though, Matt, so Vancouver had 13 shots with 7 on target. Without looking at your screen or anything now, how many of the shots do you think came in the second half of the 13?
Of the 13, probably 11.
You were close. 10 shots in the second half of the 13, which shows you how much control and how much more dominance we had compared to 3 in the first half.
it's interesting because there's a lot of like, I mean, we've covered it. There's a lot of chatter being like, this is a Mickey Mouse Cup run, you know, like Mickey Mouse Cup. This is an MLS money grab, but it's almost like a tale of two different tournaments. Because if you look at the 2023 tournament, the Whitecaps had already qualified for CONCACAF Champions League through the Canadian Championship, right?
Yeah.
And it was pretty well documented by a lot of media in Vancouver that Vanny kind of said, we're going to try stuff out, you know, in this cup run. This gives us an opportunity to test things at a higher caliber without jeopardizing our MLS championship run, or would be hoped to be run, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like we're playing with a little bit more intensity through this without the guarantee of Champions League. Because obviously we're still in the semifinals with Pacific. We still got one leg to go. And then ultimately a final if it comes to that, which whatever, we'll get to that weeks later. But it just seems like we had this first half that was so abysmal that we kind of were staring down the barrel of going home.
Yeah.
Right? After a very, 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 very strong performance away in LA. That it's almost like everyone kind of collectively thought all of that for nothing. You know, that could have all been for nothing. Which, I mean, that's tournament football, right? Like that's what this is. And yeah, everyone just collectively decided to play better in that second half. The subs were bang on. Obviously, the keeper going down helps. But still, like, that's football.
So, I suppose then, Matt, so that game there, we win that 3-1, finish the game nicely. Going into the game with Pumas here on Wednesday, tomorrow. No, Wednesday. What, at the back three there, who would you pick to go in that back three? Who would be your choice back three, do you think, for that game?
Here we go. Okay. So I've read, obviously, I'm just going to preface this because I throw this out there before we start going down a rabbit hole. Ryan Gauld, they've said, should be ready back for the round of 16. That if the Whitecaps are to get to the round of 16, that we could potentially see Ryan Gauld back. And that also Blackman has started training again. So ultimately we can rule those
16 as well. Yeah.
Maybe, but I think we could rule we could rule both them out for this 11 that me and you are going to collectively put together here now. Yeah. Okay. Takeoka obviously gets the call in net.
Yeah.
I would love to see the back three of Utvik, Veselinovic, Halbuni.
What's funny is that is the three that I was gonna say myself. That would have been my ideal three.
And then I would put Laborda back into that like wing back hybrid, don't press as far forward position. Because if Vanny actually, if you look at this 3-4-3, this is quite a nice formation for us. Because it lets Berhalter play almost as more of like a, not a wing back, but like more of like a roaming central midfielder without having to really commit defensively.
Yeah.
So I would have Laborda actually. So across the middle, I would move Berhalter to the left-hand side. I would do everyone's favorite right now, Vite and Cubas across the middle with Laborda on the right-hand side. And then I would actually run a front three of Ahmed, White, and Pico.
See, my selection would be the same, but not the formation. The only thing I'd change there, rather than having Berhalter out on the left-hand side, I'd bring him more into the middle and play him behind. So basically like a 3-5-2, and have Ahmed play as almost like a left wing back. Because I think with Laborda, though, who's more defensive minded, that whole defense, and Kubas as well, that's very defensive minded, he will drop back, make the back four, and then if Laborda gets back as well, it doubles up into a back five. So where Ahmed lacks in his defensive capabilities, I don't think it would be exposed as much in that sort of formation. And then you've still got the creativity of Vite and Berhalter in the middle of the park. And yeah, just run Pico and White as a front two, and just let Pico play a little bit further wide.
So you could have more White
more
in
direct.
the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, because also I think having seen Fafa play over the last few weeks, he plays very well cutting in off that side there.
Yeah.
And man, the guy's ball control, by the way, and like his little touches and his little dinks around and like past people, it's outstanding. Like, I've been watching little highlight reels of his games recently, and his technical ability is fucking off the charts, man.
It's very, I feel like, underrated that when we're watching it, we're like, it is very impressive. There was a couple times where he kind of had the ball in a really bad position, and you're like, oh, okay, he's gonna like get it stripped off here, and like he comes out with it. You know, he makes like a little head juke, goes right, head jukes right, and then comes out left, rolls the ball left, and it's like, holy shit, he still has it. And then he's trying to make a cross in, right?
Yeah.
I think that happened a couple times where even a dead ball, like he's chasing him. But what do you think? So obviously, anything else about this game before we go into our next thing?
No, not really. I think, the second half, like, we've covered everything. The second half there was, as long as we carry on that, like, performance level from the second half and not pick up where we fucking left off after the first, I think we'll be good.
Yeah. And, like, this is funny because it is a historic win for the Whitecaps.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've beaten a Mexican team within 90 minutes. I was trying to do a little bit of research on this. Obviously, last year we go out to Tigres in penalties. Club Leon, we take the penalties in 20 penalty takers. That infamous, like...
Yeah, it was nuts.
And then the only other time I can remember us losing to Mexican opposition was Tigres in Champions League when Davies and Kai Kamara were around. Because we went to Mexico in the first leg, and then the second leg, it was February, and BC Place decided to keep the roof open as like a tactical advantage, and I just remember about getting hypothermia,
freezing to death.
I remember looking. I'll never forget this because we went to the club shop at halftime to just like get into the warm, and there was like a $300 Adidas jacket, and I was like, oh,
Is
like,
it worth it?
How much longer can I be cold? But yeah, so this was the historic first ever win against the Mexican side, so we'll take it. And now we go up against more unknown, because we are drawn against Pumas on a very, very, I think, very tight turnaround.
Yeah, I honestly feel if you look at the games in the Leagues Cup here, where they played Austin and I think Monterrey, right?
Yeah.
If you were to look at them two games and base Pumas only off them, I feel very confident going into it. But if you look at the history of who Pumas are and the club that they are, then that's where the problem is. Right? That's where the problem lies. Like, even now, we're only 4 games into the Mexican League, but the joint top of the league with Tigres, Cruz, Azul, is it?
Yeah. And
so they're obviously a good side.
Fuck. Okay, so they are part of. I don't even know how to pronounce this, but it's Spanish for Big Four, which is the
Okay.
equivalent of, when we talk about like the Premier League, of like the Big Six. So
Yeah.
they are the equivalent of the Big Four in the Liga MX. With, in comparison, everybody knows Club America. They're probably the biggest one. Cruz Azul, uh, Guadalajara, and Pumas UNAM are considered the big four. And Guadalajara is commonly known, like it's Chivas. Sorry, I'm just reading it here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and they're straight from Mexico City too. So like big football culture. And
Yeah.
one thing, I don't want to knock it, but I feel like the Tijuana fan didn't show up in the sense of how we've seen Tigres show up. Like
Yeah, you're right.
when we've played against Tigres, like the whole stadium's blue and yellow, and it's not intimidating, but it feels like
Well, no,
it.
because they even had their fans in the supporters end. I remember, there was a lot of like shouting, a lot of pushing and shoving going on between the fans and things because of it. Because they turned up in like the Mexican jersey, the Tigres jersey. Like it was obviously they're there to enjoy the game. It's not a big deal. Like, but if you're in the supporters side, like the actual safe siders side, yeah, it's going to cause issues, right? Like,
And it's
but
actually it's why now that in the supporting section where we sit at like 252, 253, 254, that no other club logos are allowed in it. Like, I mean, obviously we've seen people with like Arsenal tops and whatever, but if you were to
yeah,
show up in like, say we have like a Salt Lake City game and you show up in a real Salt Lake top, like the hosts there are like the top to bottom message is like, you are not allowed to sit there.
yeah,
That's obviously it's not to like, stop fight. Maybe it is to stop fights and stuff like that, but it's also like, you want everybody to enjoy the game.
yeah,
But BC places an open concourse, right? Which is the fun part about it. Whereas like if you, obviously we've all gone to European stadiums, and like if you're in a supporting section, like it is a standalone part
yeah.
of the stadium. So
Yeah, we're all sharing gates at BC to get in and everything.
yeah, so
Crazy.
that's why I was kind of not disappointed with the Tijuana fans, but I just thought, okay, like whatever, but I am expecting a way different atmosphere on Wednesday.
No, me too.
Specifically because like this is probably one of the bigger teams in the Mexican sides. So it's gonna be a good game. Like it'll be a good game. But I don't know. Like go back to your question of like, given that they've played Austin and Monterrey, lost to Austin, drew Monterrey, but won in penalties.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be tight. If my bet for the game would be,
Oh, we're ruining it. I didn't get it.
I'm going to go 3-2.
I wanted to get, and this is going to come for bigger. This is going to come in the future, but my plan is to have a lock of the week where we're going to have like our bet that we're going to share. And I totally forgot to get it today, but
It's coming.
it's coming. So like, I think the lock of the week, I think we're going to get we'll win here. I think we're
Yeah.
just riding too high right now.
Yeah.
I think Vanny knows that this is an important competition. And
Yeah.
what I was gonna say is that maybe the Mexican sides were taking the piss out of the competition at first, you know?
Yeah, not taking it as seriously.
And now when you get into like a round of 32, we might see a totally different side.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I agree with that.
Because for a big club, like, let's use him for example, like, let's use Pumas, or like club is like even Inter Miami at this point, right? Like,
Yeah,
to get through the knockouts, you essentially need a win and a draw. Right? Like that's
Yeah.
kind of what happens when it's three in a pool. So is it that potentially we're going to have a totally different Pumas come at us?
Yeah, maybe you might be right. You might be right with that, Matt. Maybe they just thought if we get through, we get through. But now they're through. They're like, now it's game
on.
Yeah,
And now they're like, oh, okay, we've got this like small club in Vancouver, which I'd argue, you know what I mean? Realistically, in the MLS, like the Whitecaps aren't as intimidating as like a Galaxy, LAFC. I think we're getting there, given our league play right now. But fuck, I don't know. It's going to be a really good game, and I think Vanny knows to go for it. Like this isn't like a okay, you know, we can get through it. Maybe this is like a lower ranked Mexican team. Like this is essentially coming up against one of the big boys in Mexico. And it's interesting because
everything at it.
They have to.
Yeah.
We have to throw everything at it, because at the end of the day, if we are knocked out on Wednesday and we go down swinging, I will be very, very happy with that.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
Yeah. As long as we put up a fight, like just don't. I hope we don't get steamrolled. That'd be a tragedy.
And this is the hard part about going up against Pumas for me and you, because we can do all of this stat collecting, but we've never seen them play up close.
No.
We've seen Tigres now 3 times, and we know what we're getting with them, right?
Yeah.
Like they are fucking good. And now we're going up against Pumas, who we've never seen. But I mean, this is going to sound like a really stupid like quote to say, but like we've both traveled to Mexico and you've seen, you know, people out wearing jerseys, and like I remember the Pumas logo because it's the giant tiger in the middle with all the sponsors everywhere.
Yeah.
Like between them and Club America, which is like the yellow world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think they are the big two. So I'm expecting a very good game, like great atmosphere, like you say. And I guess we'll be back here on maybe Thursday, Friday, reviewing it, having a look at it, figuring out what happened.
Yeah, I don't even know what to sit here and say to, like, you know, say, oh, are we going to look for this player to show up? Are we going to look for this player? Because like it's such uncharted territories for us.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And like one thing I do want to say is like if the fans travel like how we've seen Tigres, the Vancouver fans need to show up twice as hard.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, so, we can't have them be in the atmosphere in the stadium.
No, you can't make it like a home game or like a run-in for them, right?
No.
And there's always talks of like, oh, you know, I think like we can dip into this a little bit, but like everyone always says like, oh, Anfield is like a fortress to play in, you know, or in the days of Sir Alex, like going into the Theater of Dreams. Like that's essentially the level the Whitecaps need to put on, because you don't know how hard these fans are going to travel.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. 100%.
So I'm looking forward to it. And then let's go down the rabbit hole here. So I was just trying to find it now, who would play if we go through. The winner of Seattle and LA.
LA Galaxy or LA...
Oh, yeah, sorry, LA Galaxy. So we're drawn in the west side. So our whole bracket's done here. Our whole side is done. So we know everyone we might play up until the quarterfinals.
Okay, run me through it then, quick, Matt. I'm just gonna I'll shout out who we play, providing that we win all the way through.
Okay, so Vancouver wins 5-0 against Pumas on Wednesday. We play the winner of Seattle and the Galaxy.
Okay, so that game there, Galaxy, and then we'll beat them.
Okay, so we're through, and I think against Galaxy we'd be playing away, unless Seattle.
Okay.
So that'll be a bit tougher. The other side of the bracket, so LAFC versus Austin. So LA should go through.
Yeah, I expect LA to be right into the latter stages until we play them.
So okay, so we're not even going to look at the San Jose, I think it's like next Cana. They play, I assume San Jose get knocked out.
Yeah. I think, so then basically what you're saying there then is the quarterfinals,
could potentially be LA Whitecaps in LA because they are the higher ranking team.
Huh.
Yeah.
See, that'd be interesting. Like, providing that we go down to LA and play like we did the other night and keep Veselinovic on the pitch for the whole 90 minutes, we beat them. Like, have the same sort of team up on Buanga for the entire night. Like,
and at that point too, I would expect Ryan Gauld to be back.
Yeah. Man, we're getting so far ahead of ourselves.
No, I was gonna say.
Holy shit!
I think this Pumas is gonna be a very, very tough game.
Yeah, me too. No disrespect to Pumas either. Like, we're not like just disregarding them. That we're like gonna stomp on them, but
no. But I mean,
we are expecting
honestly,
to win.
We are expecting. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here as a Whitecaps podcast and be like, yeah, we're gonna get smoked 4-0. Like, we are gonna go out there and we are gonna win 3-1.
Yeah, I agree.
And we're gonna kill that keeper too. Levante Johnson has a thirst for blood, and now it's unquenchable. Like,
I need to just watch what happens and watch what unfolds before I react. I think next time.
Yeah, my biggest regret is not having a camera. Okay, so that's kind of what we have. I know this is a bit shorter this week, but we are out of MLS play, so we don't have like much to look at. We're more in like now the fantasy land of what we think is going to happen.
I do want to say one thing. I think the club at the moment, the Whitecaps itself, is at a stage where if the owners actually gave a shit, we could really progress as a club.
Yeah.
But the fact that this transfer window has came and gone and they've not done anything shows a real lack of, like just giving a shit about the club. The fact that the only time that you see the owners is when we went down to LA and Steve Nash makes an appearance. Like, good
who's
for
a
you,
minority
man.
Owner.
Like, yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like right now with the club being challenging in the league, like we could be in that top half of the league for the playoffs.
So
which gives us a home advantage and everything. We should be playing for that. We should be fighting for that. The owners should want that. But it's like, if we can just fucking skate by and collect our check.
So I actually had someone reach out to me about this. Fuck. Okay, I actually had this discussion with Sean this week, as he said, why don't the Whitecaps sign a big designated player? You know, like, why is it that we're sitting here and seeing Giroux go to LA? We're seeing Inter Miami load up. We're seeing, is it Herrera from Atletico? He went to Houston, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Now they're projecting. Fuck, it's all hearsay too. Is that like, now we're gonna see Griezmann go to LA, who already have Hugo Lloris, right? So why is it that the Whitecaps aren't making a big push for a designated player? And I'm going to counteract your point here, because this is something that I believe, is that I don't think it's in the club's vision to do that. And
Yeah.
maybe it seems like, like you kind of just said, like the owners don't give a shit, we're not putting money into it. But the Whitecaps have never had a big designated player. We had Cavallini, that was a bust. Uh, Injury prone,
Kenny
right?
Miller.
Sorry?
Kenny Miller from Rangers.
Right.
Nigel Reo-Coker, an England international. Like, there's been a few. Ali Adnan was a big player for us, Suave man. Ali Adnan was fucking exceptional. He came from Udinese. He'd been in the Italian league.
But you don't have somebody on the level of a Giroud.
Not like, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's
no.
kind of what he was coming at, is like now they're saying maybe Marco Royce to the Galaxy. And I think that's not how the MLS is going to be won, is through these designated players. It's great that the league has it, obviously for promotional reasons, because you can paint a face. Like, look at the New York FC when they launched. It was David Villa, Pirlo, and Lampard. Like,
Yeah.
And I don't think it's in the club's vision to go out and spend a ton of money on these like fancy 32-year-old designated players, is that I think the owner's vision for the team is to have essentially build what we're doing now. Young guys with drive for the game and are also positionally sound.
Yeah.
And I think that's how the MLS is won. The MLS is not a league based off of like a standings at the end of the day, right? Like collect as many points as you can throughout the season and be done with it. The MLS is won through getting into the playoffs and then who can basically win a best of one game until it gets to the legs of two.
Yeah. Man.
So
also, just to touch on the not the signing the big players, in Canada at the moment, if you sign a player and you give them a signing bonus, that signing bonus is taxed at 15%.
Yeah.
If that signing bonus is tied to performance or anything like that, there's a case going on at the moment where the CRA are actually going after somebody because their signing bonus was tied to, if you turn up to training on time, you perform well in games, all this. So the CRA are trying to say, no, that's part of your wage, not a signing bonus. If the CRA are successful in this and actually take his money off him, I think this will also spell the end of big stars moving here.
Yeah. And that's trouble for like Montreal and Toronto because they're the ones that have gotten the bigger players, right? Like Drogba went to Montreal.
Yeah.
And then,
Giovinco, man.
Giovinco. And then Insigne.
Yeah, Bernardeschi or whatever he's called as well.
Yeah. He's in Toronto. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the Whitecaps have never had this like flashy designated player, where it's like an Ibrahimovic or something, right? And maybe it is market because who wants to come to Vancouver in the sense of like marketability for their career. Like how are they going to promote Adidas when they're in Vancouver when they would, have a way better success promoting Adidas in LA.
Yeah, for sure, right?
But I also, just because I had this conversation with Sean, that it is fresh in my mind that like that's how the league is won, is through younger players, not these retired ex-international players,
Yeah.
And I think the club's always done it where, they've really believed that philosophy, but right now it's where it's really coming to shine because we have a really solid squad right now. And I think, like you said, that squad should be expected to win the MLS championship. We can contend for it. Maybe not expected to win it, but we definitely can contend for it.
But even like, what I mean is, why don't they just show a bit of ambition? Even like go in for somebody that might not come. Go put an offer in for that Schaffelberg at Nashville. Just go and put the offer in so like the fans can see that you are trying, trying to do something for us.
Because right now we have
like
nothing.
that. Yeah, it's just like all we get is the owners don't care. They don't
Yeah.
want to sign anybody. They're not doing anything to enhance the squad to make
Yeah.
it better. Like when we're in a position where we could really go and do something this season if they did.
Like, I definitely feel we could win this League's Cup. Obviously, we
Yeah.
have the biggest challenge internationally ahead of us on Wednesday with Pumas. Historically, we're not good around Mexican teams, blah, 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 blah. If we are to get through Pumas, I think we can contend for this. We could definitely go to the semifinals.
Man, like I've always said, you've got to beat the best teams if you want to win the cup. So it doesn't matter where you play them.
No, exactly. You're going to have to beat them regardless, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same for like the MLS championship. Like, we're going to have to beat the best to get there. So, yeah. But regardless, we've got a fucking massive game on Wednesday,
Oh, yeah.
which I'm very excited for.
Yeah, me too, man. And I will see you there.
And we will see everybody there as we'll be doing
Yeah.
fan TV after the game again.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be doing that again. And we'll have some reactions and we'll chase down some people outside BC Place. I'm curious what the attendance is going to look like because of how short notice it was. But
yeah, there is that, right? Yeah, for sure.
I think we're going to see a lot of Pumas fans.
Yeah, me too.
So get ready to yell at people in Spanish. I'll be brushing up on my fuck off in Spanish. All right. Well, anything else to say? Or are we good for now?
No, I think that's good. And yeah, I will. I suppose I will see you on Wednesday. See everybody on Wednesday, and then I will see you back on here maybe Thursday, Friday to dissect and digest.
Dissect, digest, and potentially look forward.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll sign off here.
Alrighty, man. You have a nice night.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Caps Cast presented by Whitecaps Fan TV. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram listed below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content.